Hi everyone, school is back in session, and on those weekends where I don't have a lot scheduled, I like to prepare freezer favorites. And I want to share with you the baked Ziti freezer favorite today, where literally during the week when you just don't feel like cooking, you can have a full meal in about 30 to 45 minutes. So let's go ahead and get started. We lived in Italy for 3 years, and I took a lot of cooking classes while I was there. And one thing that stood out to me is the food was so flavorful, but yet the ingredients were fresh and very simple. So we have some garlic here, some carrots, some celery chopped up, some shallots, and tomato paste. And you can we're making a tomato sauce, but you can make a tomato or ragu sauce because we have the ground beef here, as simple or as complex as you like. I always add white wine to my sauce, and San Marzano tomatoes were very popular over there. That was one of the tomatoes that was great for making a nice sauce. And I let this just simmer for hours, but you know, if you don't have time, it doesn't have to simmer for hours. And we're just adding our basic Mediterranean herbs with basil, parsley, oregano, and a few fennel seeds. So let's go ahead and start our sauce. So here we have just my basic saucepan here, and we're just going to put a little olive oil in the bottom of the pan and just let your olive oil get nice and hot. So once our olive oil is hot, we're just going to start sauteing our vegetables. And I am starting off with the shallots here. Is no particular order. We just want to get all of our vegetables nice and sauteed. Okay, so once our vegetables have sauteed, we're just going to add the ground beef. And I just kind of moved everything on the side, and we're going to cook the ground beef thoroughly, just, you know, constantly stirring it. And I also go ahead and season the ground beef too, just with my basic Mediterranean herbs and spices, and also just a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. So our ground beef has cooked, and so now what I am going to do is I'm going to add some tomato paste in here. And the tomato paste to me gives the sauce a nice depth to it. Like, you can really taste the richness of the tomato sauce. So we're just going to go ahead and add that in here, and we're just giving it a good stir. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add our wine to the sauce. And I always like to add a wine that I would drink because I just think that it gives it a better taste. And so we're just going to let this simmer and just kind of let the alcohol cook out of the sauce. So now we're going to add our tomatoes to our sauce, and I like for my tomato sauce to have a nice texture to it. So I add pureed tomatoes as well as diced tomatoes so that it can have kind of like a chunky texture to it. Okay, so I ended up adding 2 boxes of the pureed tomatoes as well as 1 can of the diced tomatoes. And as you can see here, this is kind of like a low simmer. And this is what we want here. I let it simmer for about 2 to 3 hours, kind of with my top half on and half off of the tomato sauce. So at this point, we can just put our top on, and we can just let this simmer, just periodically checking and stirring it as the day go on. So I just wanted to show you, this is what it looks like after about an hour of simmering. We're still simmering very good here. And then the next picture here is what it looks like after about 2 hours. So at this point, I just kind of give everything a good stir, and we're ready to make our freezer favorite baked ziti here. Now I have more than enough sauce for the baked ziti, so I also have some extra to store, and I just label those, and you can use that for a lot of things. For example, on those days when you don't feel like cooking, you have some extra sauce, and I'll show you how I package up the sauce here. This is the extra that's left over, so if I just want to make spaghetti one night, I'll just boil my pasta and pour this over, and we can still have a nice meal. Okay, so now we're ready to start making our freezer favorite baked ziti. And what I do is I make a white sauce to kind of coat my pasta with, and I have some shredded Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, some flour, a little bit of butter, and some milk. So the first thing we're going to do to make our white sauce is we're just going to melt the butter, and this is about 3 tablespoons. So we're going to melt this in our saucepan. Once our butter has melted, we are going to add our flour, and the flour is kind of like cornstarch. It serves as a thickener. So we're just going to add our flour and just really stir it, because things are going to get thick here. So we just have to constantly stir it real good and let everything mix together. Okay, so at this point, we're going to slowly pour in our milk. And just continuously stir it, because like I said, things are going to get thick and you're going to have to stir here. I'm wasting just a little bit of milk, but I'll make sure I clean that up. But we're now just going to add our milk, because this is definitely starting the white sauce that we're making to coat our pasta with. So once we have everything stirred in together and everything is mixed up well, we're now going to add our Parmesan Reggiano cheese, and we're still going to stir this like we did the flour and the milk to make sure that it's mixed in together. This definitely gives your pasta a nice flavor. And you're just going to let this kind of simmer a little bit, and as you see, it's nice and thick, and this is what we're going to use to coat our pasta. Now this is the easy part, and that is boiling our water, getting ready for the pasta. And I love this pot right here. It's by All-Clad, and it's a pasta pot, but it's also used for so many other things. It just makes draining or straining your water very easily. Is a 2-piece. And one thing that I learned while living in Italy is that you want to add olive oil to your water, because it kind of gives it where very easy when you put the pasta in, it doesn't stick together, so to say. And you also want to salt your pasta water as if you're like sea salt, like how the sea would taste, and that way you know you have a very flavorful pasta dish. So we're just adding a little olive oil and a little salt, and we just bring it to the boil, and make sure you read the directions on the box of the pasta. We want to cook this pasta al dente, because we're also going to have to put it in the oven and bake, so you don't want to overcook it. So here are the containers that I use, because it's just 3 of us in the home now. And what I do is I label everything and put the directions on the pan. I also spray the pan so that once it's in the oven that things won't stick. And I can always call home and tell my youngest daughter, take this freezer favorite out, let it stand for 30 minutes, and put it in the oven at 350 and cook it for 20 minutes. All the directions are on top of the label. And like I said, I love this pot. As you can see here, it's just a 1-step drain. I don't have to go over the oven or anything. I drain it, and that is it. We are ready to assemble our baked ziti. So we have our pasta drained, and I put it back in the main pot here. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to add our white sauce to the pasta and coat it and stir it very good, and get ready to prep our pans and assemble them for our freezer favorites. Okay, so we have our pans already here. We sprayed those earlier. And so we're just gonna do layers here. We're gonna first layer it with our pasta, and we'll layer all 3 pans. And then the next layer would be our ragu sauce. So we're gonna layer each pan with those. And then our final layer would be the cheese. And I use a blend of mozzarella cheese along with a 5 cheese Italian blend to top everything off of the baked ziti. Okay, so here we have our freezer favorite baked ziti. We were able to make 3 full pans, and I'm going to stick these 2 in the freezer, and this one I'm going to put in the oven. Before I put it in the oven, I added a few breadcrumbs for some crunch, a little bit of texture, but you just basically put it on 350 for about 20 to 25 minutes. And while that's baking, make you a nice side salad and some garlic knots, and you are pretty much have a full meal. So here's everything after about 20 minutes, and it is nice and hot. We're gonna go ahead and bake our garlic bread. I do have to increase the oven temperature to 425, but it just takes about 5 to 10 minutes, and you will literally have a full dinner here. So on those days where you just don't feel like cooking, I encourage you to pull out a freezer favorite and just take about 30 to 45 minutes. I'm telling you, it will make your life so much easier. So I hope you guys try this, and in the comments below, let me know if you try this recipe, how was it? And also, do you cook during the week? And if so, what type of meals do you cook? As always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you share this video with your family and your friends, because these freezer favorites help me out so much. Because when you're working a full-time job and you're commuting and the kids have practices, it has saved me so many times during the week. And if you're not a subscriber, we would love to have you as a subscriber, and make sure you tap the bell so that each time we upload a video, you will receive notification. And let me know again, guys, let me know in the comments if you try this and how you like it. And until the next video, again, thanks for watching, and bye bye.